go around and introduce ourselves. I am Martha Erickson, and I am the general public and the chair.
I am Trish Morris. I represent the Human Association and practice and teach equine animal law and village law. I practice in New Hampshire, Vermont, and Massachusetts. I've been on commissions since 2009 and chaired for 13 years.
I'm Dr. Jane Barlow-Lloyd. I am a veterinarian here in the Comp area. I am representing the New Hampshire Veterinary Medical Association.
I am Laura Barker, and I'm representing the general public.
I'm Representative Barbara Comtois from the Environment and Agriculture.
I'm Marla Fields, I live in Exeter, New Hampshire, and I'm representing Hampshire.
I'm Doug Barry. I'm the president and CEO of the Humane Society National, but I'm also representing the American Federation of Humane Organizations.
I'm Chief David Seckling. I'm with the Alexandria Police Department. I represent the New Hampshire Chiefs Police Association.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Hannah Malowski. I'm here on behalf of UNH Cooperative Extension. I'm the Animal Science Field Specialist for the 4-H team.
Kurt Dillon with the Humane Organizations, New Hampshire.
Jennifer Weaver, general public, I'm a lawyer.
And how would I get you to introduce me?
Michelle Marsh, New Hampshire SPCA.
I'm Joan O'Brien, New Hampshire Animal Rights League.
Thank you. Good morning. You guys are just in time to introduce yourselves.
Sure, Tom Burrows, the general public.
Tyson Moore, represents sportsmen's interests.
Thank you. All right, has everybody that was here last meeting had a chance to review the minutes? Any questions or comments or changes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so be it. Approved. All right, so old business, we had talked a little bit last week about the manual update, and I don't know, Jennifer, if you have any.
Well, I think there were two issues with the manual. First was, is it properly on the New Hampshire DOJ website? And I went in and looked, and it is under publications. It's there, you can search for it, you can find it under publications. So I did reach out to anybody at DOJ to change it. So if anybody sees problems with finding it, let me know and I'll go back, but it's there, it's up. I did not take more action on amending it or getting a group together to look at it, but I'm happy to start that. And Trish, you're sort of my tag person. Perhaps the two of us could look at some of the sections, because I know we had talked in prior meetings about focusing on the status conferences and that they're happening, and the judge knows that they have enough power on what they can order for the status conference.
The 14-day?
Yeah.
And I think based upon the legislation we're looking at now, if we can get a head start on what has already changed and then just keep it fluid for what's going to come down the road, because there's a lot going in, and we'll see what happens. But
Yeah, so we may not even want to take this up till we get through this legislative session. And then, because part of the process is if we amend it, do we want to go through the DOJ reviewing it and having Jonathan Ellis sign off on it?
if we know that something's not going to be touched, like the status hearing, I can't remember if there's something on there. I might know if there's something with the status hearing, the 14-day hearing. We probably could start addressing that so we can get a head start on it, but maybe we don't introduce something now. But I didn't see anything.
I don't know.
So what we're talking about is, I think most of you know that there was a bill passed a few years ago that says within 14 days of the charges, we have to go before the court as attorneys to talk about what's going on. So they have an idea what the whole case is about. The court spot, or the lawyers in the court spot, asking me what we're supposed to do during that period of time. And so that's what we're trying to get some clarity on, and I think that that's really important because it actually has caused problems. Steve Sproul told us that, I think Thomas mentioned that too, that it's caused problems, and of course, just don't know what to do with it. So I think we'll definitely start with that.
They're not using it,
Right.
It's either continuing it or just
Right.
not really
If they even ask
addressing
for it.
the needs of the
Yeah.
animal that it's
Correct.
what we've gotten feedback on. And was there any, maybe somebody else remembers, but I thought there was one other place in the manual that we wanted to touch on update. to me, so. So if anybody else would like to work on the manual, maybe we'll have a loose committee that meets more in the spring once we get through the legislative session and determines what else we need to update there.
Sounds good.
That sounds like a good idea. Do you want me to maybe bring that up on the agenda like in March or May or something?
Yeah, Trish, you and I can maybe talk before that.
Sure.
And if it's simple and there's not a lot to address, we could even propose to the groups some updates.
I agree. Yep.
Okay,
It's not gonna take, it's not a heavy lift to do those.
all right.
Can I just touch on that? I really think that those 14-day hearings should be done. So there's the ability to be able to charge someone and have them appear for arraignment within what we would call a rocket docket. Those already exist for domestic violence and DV charges. And I think animal cruelty should be on a rocket docket as well, so that it gets within 10 days. And there should be a first dispositional hearing at time of arraignment, would be my opinion on that, so that we're not having more and more and more hearings that are tying up court, but during an arraignment, there could be a dispositional hearing at the same time. So that someone gets in front of a judge very quickly on the rocket docket and does the initial dispositional hearing at time of arraignment.
That's a great idea.
The Zephyr used to do that, and we've done it before, and it's worked really well.
It's nice to know that it already exists in the law, so you can point to something, to say, yeah,
Is
please
it-
cover this.
Is it an administrative order of the courts to put it on that rocket docket with the other types of cases?
I don't know.
Because I
It's a bit
wanted to
technical
say
for
that
me.
we're sort of in a similar, I just want to know, I don't know offhand, because I just don't do enough criminal law to know how they get the authority to do that rocket docket.
I don't know.
Let me
It's-
dig into that.
Domestic violence and DVs would be the one to look at really quickly.
Okay.
I don't know, we just do it, just something we've always done, I don't know whether it's.
I bet it's an administrative order.
Probably.
So let me look through those and see if I can find it, because then it's easier to go back and sort of propose it to do the same.
Yeah, rather than having hearing after hearing after hearing.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, and the animals in the meantime are just doing nothing. Someone's paying to feed them. All right, so New Hampshire Pet City. Is there any updates on that? Because it was, we were kind of, we're looking at, is there any more input to it, or?
Yeah, Heather and I have had a very busy summer and fall, and so we apologize, we didn't update from last winter, but oh, look at that, we're in the winter again, so no harm, no foul. So, yeah, we haven't really updated. So our grand intent was to have like seasonal things to put up there, and we were gonna change it with the seasons, and yeah, we underestimated how busy people were and how quickly the seasons change, so.
Christmas lights up.
That's kind of the situation right now, but yeah.
Should we have a link to it on our
That's-
page? Because I went to, again, is that, I couldn't even, I went to our page to see if there was a link in our
Yeah,
present.
so now here's my question, where would anybody suggest we put that on our page? And I will-
There's a whole link, we have a section of links to other pages.
It looked like there was something that was like trifold where it had a lot of information.
Those are brochures.
Documents.
Those are brochures, but there's definitely, there are about 8 links, I think, at the bottom. I can show you after the meeting
Okay,
on our webpage, and you could just add it to those links.
okay. And that's on the document page?
Resources.
Resources, yeah, because that's where I was going to look for it.
Okay. Okay, perfect.
And I'm just texting you right now the link.
Okay, I believe I have it, just in case.
Yep, there you go.
Okay,
Awesome.
awesome, thank you. The next thing would be the HB 616, the confiscation of animals. I know, David, you were working on that. I don't know if there's any updates.
I'm probably not the best person to talk to that right now, I think,
Is that the study committee?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened is the chair had some family issues, so that study committee didn't go forward, so no legislation actually came out of that. that will be something I looked at in the next session.
Okay, all right, so that's something we can take off the old business thing, at least for now, until it comes back up.
Is the bill going to be reintroduced or?
No, not this year.
616, the old 616.
616.
There's been some work done on that. You want to speak to that?
We were at a meeting together, when you say that.
Yeah,
Do you want to talk to that? I think I did last time, you said that you may want to say something.
So 616 was, well, this is like the fourth year discussing this, but we were trying to look at how to do a statewide, almost like a task force, so that if there was an animal cruelty case, that we would have specialists on the ground that were looking out for the best interest of the animals' welfare and understood the animals themselves. And but like I said, due to some family issues with the chair, those meetings never went forward, and we reached the deadline.
Okay.
There has been another document that was written by Michelle Lynch, who's in the back here, about a task force, and that's been floated around at the moment. We're looking for input, so that's, I think it's interesting. I think it's possible.
Okay, wonderful. All right, the other thing we had talked about last meeting was the executive order, and maybe doing some possible amendments for it. So I didn't know if anybody had a chance to look at that or think about that. I mean, one of the things would be permission to have, people, as long as we have a forum for people to be able to call in, if they can't make it here in person, especially like in January where the weather could be really questionable and people are coming from a distance. And again, we don't have to submit these things right away, but I would like to kind of get everybody's input on this so we can make this group exactly what it needs to be. The other one is to definitely have a governor's office liaison coming to the meetings, or for me to be able to send them the minutes and information so we can get a little bit more information with the governor's office. And let's see, what we're
still talking about someone from the,
DOJ.
yes, yeah, that was my next
And we
thing.
also talked about the municipal association.
yeah, municipal association.
Yep, and DOJ or prosecutor.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder if Anthony would do that. Generally.
What?
If Anthony Esty or Christopher, who does the jury trials, Anthony.
Well, I think before we do that, we need to get the executive.
Right,
order
yeah,
changed.
yeah.
We can't start asking.
Right.
And I tried, I just think that when last time it got amended, the governor didn't listen to us.
Yeah.
We wanted that.
okay.
I don't know if there was pushback by the prosecutors or what happened under the radar, but we did ask.
All right, well then I think we should ask again. So, and possibly if like the senators or the representatives can't come, if they could have an appointee like the state that would have an appointee that could come in their place, so we might have some updated information. So that would be one other thing that we could add. So if anybody can think of anything else that they're like, you know what, it would be great to be able to do X, Y, and Z, please email me or let me know or call or whatever, so. All right, and how about any legislative updates? Is there any that you can think of that we might need to know?
I think we should wait till we get to the new business.
Okay, sounds great. All right, well, that takes care of the old business. So the new business is legislature tracking and having a committee to be able to do that. And I had talked to Tom about that because he has a program, and I know that there's a lot of people that do track that, but I'd love to have it really simplified for people that aren't necessarily familiar with that. So I'm going to let you talk about that since. And there is a handout that's around there that's kind of a printout of what Tom had put together with the links and stuff.
Yeah, so, thank you. So our firm uses Fast Democracy, it's what most lobbying firms, a lot of lobbying firms use these days.
Got a stack of papers here.
I didn't do a ton of copies, so I don't know. Does anybody need a copy or want a copy?
Yeah, so our firm, we have a government relations firm here, and we use the tracking software, it's Fast Democracy, we use it for all of our clients, so I offer to use it here for the commission. There's a couple of things, there's the printout, it simplifies in a very easy PDF, it's linked into the clerk's office, so we get updates fairly quickly. What we can do is it's a very simplified form right there that I just printed out to say, here's what I've captured so far, just looking at what could be potential LSRs that we're looking at, bills for next session. We can run it, we can bring in a little more as we get language and review it. And then for those that are interested, there's also an email link that we can provide so you can actually subscribe to it. You can decide if you want to get daily or weekly emails to see what's going on with the legislation, going into the hearing. You can know the last action on the bill, the committee decided to move it forward or not. You can get a transcript of the hearing if you weren't there. There's a lot of things that you can do with it that we're happy to offer and probably, hopefully make it a little easier for everybody to understand the process and track legislation. I'm happy to answer any questions. There's a very broad overview of it. It's pretty powerful. I think it should help us do it more than that.
So you're suggesting that there's a link to your companies or your?
No, it's not. We're not. It's the link would be internal for the commission. So we could, there could be a discussion. You could put it. We probably would not want to put it on the website because we can't be taking positions on things as we understand it. But I could provide it for everybody here, and then you would have your own special to keep track. And then this way, when we're not meeting, you can still see what's happening, what's going on. And if there are questions that come up, you can send it back to the committee, the legislative committee, and just say, hey, what does this mean? Should I be at something? Should I be prepared for something?
What filter do you use to pull this one?
I just searched animal. I did it manually. I just kind of searched animal, I searched cruelty, I kind of searched things that we've talked about. I did look at wildlife, and I was like, we really dismissed that over the years, so I made sure that maybe not, but there was some stuff there. And then there are, obviously the retained bills are the first few that are on the list. Those are being updated and dealt with already. And then everything's, as language comes out, it'll automatically update the bill numbers and language. You have to click on it and read it and see it.
So that's something that I can email to everybody, especially, I'm proposing we have a meeting in January, and so that will obviously, because the legislature is going to be starting up then, so we can get a little bit of a head start on stuff like that. So, sound like a good idea, or an easy idea? That's what I was trying to make it easy. So, thank you very much.
If you're aware of something that's not on here, I know I proposed you to ask you for that, Kate. I think we'd be great to let Tom know that too.
Okay.
Things are in the works.
All right. So the next thing we talked about, I wanted to talk about is I talked to Marla, probably before the last meeting, and we were talking about ways to do preventative stuff. So not to put any animal cruelty officers out of a job, but what can we do as a group to offer resources? And I know that our website is filled with stuff, but we're talking about preventative stuff that might be like, somebody with volunteering to do something like that. There is a sheet that was got a basic draft of that, but I'm going to let Marla talk about this because it was actually her great idea.
Thank you. So the sheet is just like a brainstorming thing that we put together. It doesn't make a lot of sense in the format that it's in, but it's a great place to start and continue brainstorming, if you will. And the whole idea came about with just, as a means of people need some help, and how could we keep them out of becoming a cruelty case if we could lend a hand and help them up a little bit you know, in an interim stuff, you know. And the goat case was what kind of prompted me thinking about this, because the woman had lost her husband. She needed a hand, and if a hand had come along, maybe all that had occurred would not have occurred. So what could we do as a group, or not as a group, to get organizations together, say 4-H or the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts, you know, somebody needs a hand in an interim period, you know, maybe they broke a leg or something and they just need some help for a short period of time. And what groups might be interested in coming forward and spending a Saturday, helping somebody out, monkey stall, doing whatever that they need to do in order to help. And so that's where this child came from.
And in addition, I mean, as we all know, New Englanders don't exactly love to ask for help. So how do we, you know, because I know from hearing all of the people talk that we go and say, all right, this is a list of things you need to do, but things don't get done. How do we sort of nicely say, look, we're gonna, you know, maybe how do we get to, like, say, if it's a farmer, so is there another farmer that can say, hey, there's a group that can come and help you, and they might take it from somebody that they know. And it doesn't have to be large animal, it can also be small animals, so.
Right, it doesn't have to be.
But we figured this would be a good resource to have a list of things that are available to the state, and then actually go down by county. And so here's a list of all the vets in this particular county. One specializes in small animal, this is a large animal practice, this is equine, this is a multi, practice, and which vets offer 24-hour care. So people are like, oh my gosh, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I've got a horse colicking. Who do I don't really call because my vet's out of town. So that's the kind of thing that we were looking at. How can we offer assistance to make sure that things don't happen, avoid things from happening. And I talked to Yarna and I talked to Hannah about this, and they had some interesting, additions to that. So we just kind of wanted everybody's input. And then the other thing is, well, we can do all this group and that's all well and good, but how do we let everybody know about that? So that's something that I would say, because a lot of the groups are 501c3s and or government, local, state, we qualify for a public service announcement. So, can we go to places like WMUR and some of the radio stations and say, hey, we'd like to put up a statewide information thing, like here's some resources, and we'll put this on our website, whether it has its own website. I know Jamie, you have been working on the New Hampshire Pet Save, so that's why kind of at the top I was like, all right, well, here's New Hampshire Animal Save. So, anyways, anybody have some inputs and thoughts?
Are there more copies?
You know what, I'm gonna give you, yeah, I didn't do a ton because I know some people like them, some people don't, so.
I think the things that you're, at least from the veterinary perspective, we're trying to constantly keep those sort of veterinary questions that people have updated. I know, was it last year, the year before, at least during kind of the pandemic and after the pandemic, we tried to keep an updated list of just veterinarians that were accepting new clients, because a lot of places were being closed to new clients. So we're trying to get that and glean that information. So I'll bring that to our next meeting to see if we can get our information updated. I believe we keep it on our New Hampshire VMA website. I'm not sure if it's behind a firewall or not. We have two kind of separate entities, one where you log in and you can do your veterinary membership stuff, and then there's the stuff that's open to the general public. So I will bring that to our next meeting and just start collecting that sort of information.
Right, because that would help. I mean, we can, I don't know whether we don't list a vet that isn't taking new clients or just make a comment like no new clients, but.
Right. Well, I know from Silly had a problem this past month because of Google AI. We have a link on our page that says for after hours and emergency care. that says, and the link is after hours emergency care. Well, when you open that link, it says, we do not offer it. We say, go to these other places. Well, Google AI took the fact that we put emergency on our website and said that we were an emergency and urgent care. And so for about a week, we had we were inundated with walk-ins and emergencies. And we're like, no, and because we were in Concord, so we have to be, I'm gonna make that as a mention, to our facility too, because they got us confused with caves. And we're just not equipped to do that. So I just want to be able to caution clients when they are now looking at Google and typing in that information, they're not getting the correct and updated information.
So that's something that this could provide.
I mean, if this is the first thing that pops up, if we can do some sort of Google algorithm and pop this information up, rather than listening to the Google AI people tell you, which veterinarians in city of Concord, does emergency and it gives you the wrong information.
Right.
That was tough for us. So, because we can't, as our rule for our Practice Act says, is we have to have that information available. So if we don't do emergencies, so we can't just delete that tab from our website. We didn't think that this was going to be a fallout from AI.
Right. Yeah, and it's, and I figured if we listed things by county, if somebody's up in Coas County, and they're Googling a vet, they're not gonna want a vet in Heat.
Right.
They're gonna wanna look at who's in.
And I can try to kind of put that information and get it down by county as well.
Right.
So.
And then, police departments, I mean, obviously people know to call their local police departments, but, if their local police department is so small that the state police, so.
Well, if the local police departments had like information on who they might contact, for assistance, then they could then direct people to another number.
Right.
So on the Animal Control Officers Association of New Hampshire, which is helpful, but on our webpage is an entire list of every town that has an available animal control officer and how to get in contact with them. So
I mean, that would be a huge thing to have on.
we could absolutely give you that link, and if this is put together, we can just have that there, so.
Could you send us that link too? Because we have a lot of people that call us asking for help to be available, so.
Yeah, do you want to check what's happening, and I can get that directly to you?
Well, if you give it to Martha, maybe Martha,
Yeah.
I have to scoot out, I have an appointment starting right at 10
Worries
o'clock,
about
so.
tomorrow.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just the introduction of this project, and this is something that we can talk about, as in spring, after the legislative stuff has gotten going. But I just think it would be a really, really great resource. And, obviously our website has a lot of information, but what I want to do is really promote this somehow so it gets out to the public. Because just because we put it on our website doesn't necessarily mean that the public knows about our website. So how do we promote this and how do we market this, to radio, to newspaper, doing interview, whatever it is that we can do to get this out to the state, to the citizens, I think that would be a great idea. So,
Always a challenge.
yeah, yes, so, but.
Yeah, I guess a question. For animal control officers, do you think that someone who's, in the circumstances of starting to have some trouble, would feel, let's say their neighbor or someone, would people feel comfortable calling animal control officers, or is that just immediately puts people's defenses up? I'm just trying to think who are the trusted folks in the community. If somebody knows something's not going right, who are they going to reach out to? And so, in terms of publicity, it's like, who is it that we can recommend that actually would be that kind of trusted person?
I hear you, and I definitely resonate with that, because we're currently facing a crisis of ACOs, animal control officers, being seen as purely there to be punitive, first and foremost for their assist. So you'll see your local ACOs going to someone's house and helping them rebuild the fence with the dog keeps getting out. Or I personally got a list of people, I just transferred from one town to another, but in Old Town, who were pet food insecure, and I would discreetly go to their homes on a monthly basis and drop off donated pet food, because the community do donate to the ACOs and the district as needed. So we're primarily there to provide support, but unfortunately only 1/3 of the state is actually covered by animal control officers. It's not required to have one in every town, like in other states. Like if you go to Connecticut, for example, every town's required to have an ACO. It's not like that in New Hampshire. So I think this would be great to have resources where towns don't have ACOs, but where they do have an ACO. I would love to have our ACOs hit the ground first. We're looking at everything we can to, as Martha put it, give out information that changes public perspective, because we're there first and foremost to provide help before it becomes an issue where it's a cruelty case. We want it to be something where we provide resources. So this would be great for the ACOs too, because then we're able to have even more connections to, okay, I can't be here every day on these calls for you, but I know someone who can. And we all have those connections within our own immediate communities as animal control officers, but it'd be lovely to be able to have the broader connections, if that makes sense. But yes, I know it sounds scary at first for the ACO knocks on your door, but I promise you we're not there to be there help first.
And I think that that goes for a lot of the shelters too. People are, that there's so much miscommunication and misinformation. So we're trying to make this where everybody at this table has something to offer to this group, and we can change the perception about a lot of things. So I think it would be great. And Marla and I even talked about, like for the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, obviously, it's having kids doing that, they have to be supervised. But what about if we had them do, like, here's a badge that you can do for a volunteer? A lot of the high schools, they have to volunteer in order to graduate. They have to have so many hours of volunteer work. So that's the kind of thing that we can write down on this, saying, hey, contact your high school. Do they offer, or we can find out that information. Do they offer, or they have a program where the kids, in order to graduate from high school, have to have X amount of community hours. So.
Just another suggestion question. I think maybe the community action partnerships would be someone to add as a potential partner to the list, because if someone's in trouble in one part of their life, they might be having services from one of the community action.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then, when I heard the term pet food insecurity, is that kind of something that is as current and people are aware of? I think that's.
I donate 4 pounds a month to various shelters.
It's the shelters.
People shelters.
So every town's different. I know where I came from, keeping my I just settled into Hudson, so I've been there for the last 2 months, and we're still setting that project up. Where I came from in Salem had a rescue league that gave a lot of donations, and I go to their food bank. I would grab the food, I wouldn't tell them necessarily where it's going, but we have a great relationship, and I was, doing something crazy with it, and I deliver it to the people as needed, without, discreetly, with that. And then in other towns, in the other shelters, sometimes they donate food, community members donate food directly to the animal control facility. I know in Hudson, people donate directly to the facility as opposed to the shelter, which then donates to the facility, but every town's different.
In Nashville, we have a food pantry that we work with Meals on Wheels too, so that we give them a lot of food and distribute it out to their clients. We also have a lot of walk-ins where people come in and get food from our pantry.
Well, I think that in terms of the public service announcements, that's one of the people, I think the governor and others are very interesting. It just is food insecurity, something is people always talking about, that food insecurity people. I think Salem has drop off some food to that food.
Yeah.
I think there's a kind of the network within folks who, the shelters, this and they're helping animals all the time, and so on. But there are people probably have the awareness because more people would contribute to them.
We also talked about, Facebook groups. Now, obviously, we don't have a Facebook group, but the shelters have a Facebook group. The towns have it. So we can post on like, hey, if somebody in your town is struggling, here's a resource. So the Facebook groups always volunteers will come out of the woodwork for those. And it's just another way, like, oh my gosh, I heard about this really good thing on Facebook, let me forward it to you. So that's another really good way to reach out to people. So again, this is gonna be, you guys can email me with information, I will, or Marla, and we can put together either a committee for this, or I think everybody should be involved. We should have links on this to all of everybody's site they represent, just so, you know, there's enough information out there. And we can put this in an organized way, and how to link it to our website, because there's so much information on animal care and things in our own website, so.
I would definitely make a priority of the economy going, you know, right now, and winter coming in. I think this is typically when, especially the livestock, see the biggest problems. So I think if we can all get something to you by, you know, within 3 weeks, and at least start to update our resources page. Becky's gift is huge.
Right,
And that's not
yeah.
there. So I think people need to know about that, because I think the winter we're supposed to be in for, and the economy right now is gonna cause a lot of problems.
And
a lot of just,
And I know
such
this
as
year,
shelters.
with the rain that we had at the beginning of the year and the drought at the end, the hay is gonna be really down this year, so, yeah, and it's been expensive too, so.
So, just to be clear, so the distribution system for that is food pantries?
It can be.
For some reason,
I don't think it
towns-
has to be exclusive.
town hall can't do it either.
Yeah, I
So
think,
again, my town, DPW actually is acting as the middleman between the local shelter, which is in our town, and then ACO position was vacant, so they took in a lot of food and held it at their shop,
So
so.
town hall can do it, and dog food holes, right?
Yeah, that's where, that's another example too that would work in smaller towns.
I know last week was the scouting for, or the week before was scouting for foods, so I do have a contact. I know that the big push is always, you know, the human grade food, but we never talk about like doing these food drives for dog food or cat food or other pet foods. So my son's in Boy Scouts, so I can get a contact with them, because they bring all of the food from, you know, Concord, Dunbar, and Bow, you know, right to the Armory in Manchester. So I can see if there is something that we can do to also include scouting for foods. That maybe we could do even something even separate, you know, for pet foods.
Right.
So,
yeah,
and
like-
I'm almost positive they probably already have merit badge things that this would fit into. The book is like this thick, so they're not going to create something new. I'm almost 110% positive that this fits into a category already.
Okay.
So, and at least the Bow Dumbarton group is a very active, Bow Dumbarton and Concord is a very active Boy Scouts. So Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Scouting America is what it's called now. So we can definitely get this going for them.
Right, and all, you know, like a lot of the big box pet stores, like Petco's, PetSmart, they'll have different, like, you know, the Concord SPCA, here, there's a box that, you know, the one in Concord donates some food, so that's something else we can say, is like, you know, and make sure that people know that they can go to the shelters without worry about, you know, being judged or whatever, so that they can go and get some animal food. Large animal might be a little bit more of a challenge, so that's something we can try to figure out, but, or who, you know, if they're having a problem, so we can work on that one, but, so,
New Hampshire SPCA has a hay right bank
okay.
available to folks in need. It's a short-term supply, but if it is there, they just have to reach out to us.
All right. Wonderful. Okay, so again, like I said, this is just going to be, we'll try to get a bunch of a list together, but it's just going to be what's available in the state, and then break it down what's available in each county. So,
We used to get dog food donated to this guy in town who used to have this wolf sanctuary from Walmart. Yeah, any open bag of dog food, they would give it to him for his wolves. And it wasn't a small amount. I had a sneaking suspicion he might have ripped a few bags. But at the end of the day, his animals were mostly fed. Mostly.
yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. You've been busy over the past decade.
I've even heard of that.
Fires.
Out there.
40 wolves.
the half wolf, biggest coyotes in the state are around your area.
Yes.
Ironically.
There's theories that they still exist up there.
So I was told the other day, yeah.
All right, and I just realized that I didn't duplicate the
Do
executive
you want
order.
that in the minutes?
No, you can put in the minutes that Walmart may be a good source for. Yeah, I think we can stop.
And, I mean, to segue away from this to get, Chewy also is really good. Chewy is really good if a client accidentally buys a bag of food or they're, they will just say, keep it and donate it. Well, where we see it the most is if the pet is euthanized, and they have like an automatic subscription, and they forget to cancel the automatic subscription, and you get like 80 pounds of food, and you're like, oops. Chewy is really good about crediting the client and then telling them to donate it. So if they're good about that, they may be able to reach out for them for like a solid donation for the year or something, and see what they say.
I wonder if they could, like, if this was a normal thing for them, they could give a number to us, so somebody like a friend
Yeah.
at SEO could go and pick it up from their house.
I would probably say yes. So I don't know if that's something like the ACOs Association, we can work with them. You guys and us together, and calling them. I mean, they really don't want things back in their warehouse. Like I've had friends that have ordered, cat trees, dog crates, and they're like, no, we don't want to pay the restocking fee to have it shipped. Keep it, donate it, whatever. That seems to be the Chewy MO.
I can't say, I can't normally just jump in and speak for the entire association as one person, but I think in this case I 100% can. Because most ACOs are completely funded donation-wise for things they need as well as the community, as a broader spectrum, by donations. So I don't know a single ACO who would say, it's in my town, I can't go there and go pick up whatever the thing is.
And I mean, I can reach out to both Chewy, I can reach out to Purina, I can reach out to Hills and Royal Canin. They all have charitable arms. So I just need a place to like.
Yeah, we need.
I just need a place to like mail it to or deliver it to.
There's the link on the ACO AMH webpage that links you to every ACO in the state, is always up and available.
Okay.
And so if maybe somehow we can connect Chewy to that link or something and say, hey, your local ACO is whoever, or your nearest ACO, if maybe you don't have an ACO in that town, but 3 towns over or 1 town over they do,
right,
is so-and-so, email or call or whatever.
Yeah, and I think, all these companies are leery about sending it directly to like an animal hospital or a clinic because of the fear of the, reselling it or turning it over. But if I get it into a facility, not even, and this is not offense to a shelter either, but like, getting it to an ACO officer or a law enforcement officer, I think that takes like, you have no way to resell it. There's no resell, thing.
It would either be going to a community member in need,
right,
or a stray animal that is in our kennel for only 1 week. That's
right.
it.
So that like, takes out all of the I guess the white noise. So, all right, I'll work on that.
Oh,
Are we also going to contact the food pantries, because that is the distribution for food in the state?
Yeah. And that might be.
By definition, we food for the.
I mean, if I can mail it right to the New Hampshire Food Bank, like.
That would be the.
That would be amazing.
Right?
That would be.
So let's try to do that.
Yeah.
All right, let me do that.
And that would be easier for Chewy or.
Right,
Or
right.
Purina or all of them.
You need a contact there?
I was
Purina won't send to places that we don't manufacture. Here in Pennsylvania, it's the closest one.
Okay.
But what they will do is send you money. Also,
Okay, because then I just have my corporate accounts, so I can.
and
Send
as
it
far as
along.
Walmart at the store level, now they don't do anything at the store level, but you can sign up with different. There's some logistical challenges, there's some workarounds, but you have to be signed up through their Spark for Good. Their distribution center, now they have outsourced the open bag, all that stuff. They've outsourced that to the Scarborough location, so they don't have it here in New Hampshire, but when you have friends there, you get pallets of items that are skewed wrong, that wasn't on the order, the manufacturers don't want to come back and pick it up, so we end up taking 9 pallets of cat food. But my problem was getting it out to everybody.
Well-fed cat.
But, you know, the collection, I think, in this area is gonna be easy. It's the storage and the distribution, that's gonna be the challenge. I have plenty of space, there wasn't, I had a loader and all of that, so it was easy for me to offload, but now I have a barn full of cat food. So, those are just things we want to be really mindful of before we start pushing it out.
But if we had contact with the food bank, they would be able to do the distribution.
I don't know that cheap. I don't know if they'll keep pet food.
Yeah, they're gonna ask for resources. They'll have a conversation, but they're gonna say we need.
Okay.
Well,
let's
just
start
be
the
prepared for that.
conversation.
We should, yeah.
We'll start.
I mean, if we can get them sourced out to the different ACOs or the different shelters or wherever that, you know, then in the counties, then they can distribute them.
Yeah, the thing that will help with the food bank is there's a lot of local churches and others have food pantries that they can connect that network to.
Right.
And maybe it's easier, they have to hold the food bank, so they're bringing food.
Right, I know JCO is gonna probably know someone in the community that can either put it in their barn or something, or put it in their own ACO facility.
Right.
Either way.
And on the other side, when you were talking about Purina, Blue Seal Feed is right here, you know, so we can go to them. And again, because Purina and Blue Seal, they all do large and small animals, we could say, hey, here's a resource if you need some grain or hay pellets or whatever for your horse or cow or whatever animal it is, so. Awesome, all right, well, this looks like this is gonna be very productive. And it's a really great way for all of us and all of our groups to be able to work together, which is a really awesome thing as well. So, you had a question?
I just want to ask Tom, as far as, when we go back to the legislative tracking, can that also track administrative rules, like the ones that are supporting 644A, and what's coming before jail car for re-upping, especially since there's so much
I
cost?
can track jail car when they're hearings, or
Okay.
meetings are not, and then we get the specific, you know, what the document is not to.
Gotcha.
And we can, yeah, so.
I'm always trying.
We can track committees, yeah, I can add committees too, we can track all sorts of things.
Awesome. All right. As I mentioned, it was my bad. I double listed this executive order amendments. We've already gone through that, so that can be out of new business. Any new cruelty cases? That's a good thing.
I have just a piece to share. Tona's not here, so I don't want to speak on his behalf, but I had a member of my community reach out knowing my involvement with this group regarding a potential abuse case of horses in a town where there's no ACO. And I spoke to Tona last week, and they are already currently investigating it. So definitely a good, I wanted to highlight that as a connection of this group where I think we're able to get the community leveraged in the right way when there's not necessarily a hired person that they can call. So I don't want to share any more. I'm not sure the status of that. So I'll, without Tony here, I'll
It's
leave it at that.
holding, from what I understand right now, unfortunately. The civil side is not,
I figured that was probably the case.
and nor is the AG's involved.
Okay, so I'll hands off on that.
All right. Does anybody have any additional comments, questions, anything? And public, do either of you have any questions or comments?
I love the idea of prevention. That's, you know, what you're trying to do is prevent cruelty in the first place.
Thank you. All right. Well, we got through everything. I thought this was going to be a long meeting. You think?
Did we want to talk about legislation?
Yes.
Senator?
Yeah, thank you. And I think there's one other House bill I've seen on the exercise, that was, the first one I saw, the signed off on, was the ban. And then there's another bill, I think Judy Aaron is the lead sponsor. This would be, and what it would say is that forensics can only be used by a licensed applicant. So that's an alternative to the first bill. I don't remember the outside number. House is still revising bills, but I didn't see that signed off on a few days ago. I talked to somebody, I got a call from somebody who's in the pest control business. And then some lobbyist who said there's an alternative bill. So,
Okay.
It's HB 1018.
yeah, so there's no list, right?
Yeah, it is on the second page.
Oh, I guess I didn't, you know, which one? I didn't see that. So it's an hourly bill, okay. No, there's,
Is there a set, is there, there's another one?
yeah, there's another one, it's not, I was not referring to that one, there's another one. That is a regulation, it says only licensed person can apply for it. And it's somewhat of an alternative to this bill, but I signed off on that one too, because we don't want to do something, wherever these bills are going to be, we're doing something. I think the second one, when I'm told by the lobbyist, that the community has good bipartisan support in the House. I think Aaron and Nick's Peter on it.
Yeah, I know, it's 28, limited consumer access to certain high-risk
That's the
products.
one.
Using certain access to,
Certain high-risk products.
Basically, what it says is you have to be a licensed applicant to use them, so you can't be just individual using them anymore. That's what the pest control folks are behind, I support that approach.
What's considered a high-risk area? Residential?
consider here.
I think it's a high-risk for them.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I see.
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Anyway.
Got it, so it's an anticoagulant, second generation.
yeah.
And it's-
No, I don't think I mean, the Senate has confidential bills, and I don't think I've seen any that are on any issues that are confidential. So I think the list of that issue is probably completely full.
And then Senate Bill 550, sponsored by Live Board, would require licensing and mandatory inspections of dog boarding facilities. The reason why I think that's important is because it is arisen from countless cruelty cases and deaths of dogs, specifically just dogs at this point in time, in those facilities, and the police are not able to get access, so they want to license them and hold them to a standard which I think should be with shelters, so we're trying to argue that one out, but that's going to impact the cruelty side as well, I think, and that's up to the commission to determine, but we're working on language for that to come forward as well. Last year, the bill passed a subcommittee to study. I know Kurt's been there. I'm helping writing legislation to Senate awards, so hopefully see something coming out soon.
Okay, that sounds like a very important.
Can I ask, would this also be dog boarding facilities that are attached to animal hospitals?
So this is one of my big concerns, is you're gonna run into facilities that are licensed by the Department of Agriculture, subject to their jurisdiction. They're gonna be subject to the veterinarian board as well. And we can't do that unless we hold them to the same standards, at least. If they're a pet vendor, we could hold them to what we would hold, you know, a New Hampshire shelter. But for veterinary medicine, we would only be able to go into the area, there's a specific area like County Animal Hospital.
Right.
As a separate.
Right.
Other than that, we have to have hands off because it's jurisdiction to the veterinary board. That's one of the big issues we were talking about.
With this upcoming bill, who would be doing those inspections? So that
The
was
town, and the town could do it. It could just be, it could be almost anybody in the town, or they can work with another town's ACO on a contract basis, per investigation basis, to go in and do an investigation. The biggest issue right now is what are those standards? They're trying to keep it very basic by saying it has to be clean, it has to be sanitary. That is way too vague, completely, because what you might think is sanitary, I may not, right? So knowing that we already have administrative laws for, or rules for shelters, pet vendors, those types of things that are really excessive, but, you know, more or less would apply. Why would we do the same standards when we're looking at animal public health, well, you know, animal health, safety, welfare? So we're trying to direct them to 1,700 to hold them to the same amount.
In towns where there is not an ACO, because unfortunately there's a lot of them, especially at north, who would that then fall to?
It would fall to the town, so the town could have another police officer come in, they could have even a building inspector go in. I would hope that they would contract with another ACO or call the Department of Agriculture to come in and do it. That's still being worked out right now, because again, we don't want that interpretation. You know, as we've been seeing within the Department of Agriculture, we talk to one person, they say one thing, we talk to another person, you see another. Actually, the chief from New Boston, who's spearheading this with us, is the one who's trying to define that right now.
If I have my personal
Yeah.
opinion, I might look at adding to that language that it should be an ACO, because I think where there is not one, where I've seen other cases that were similar or other rulings, that it would then fall usually to a patrol officer who may or may not have any knowledge.
Right.
And that's where you refer to the pickups.
Yeah, and we're putting a preference on the ACO, and so for example, like Deerfield's got a wonderful ACO. You know, we don't have one, we may call Cindy and say, hey, can you come over to Barnstead, and we will, we'll contract pay you, whatever we're gonna do. Or just escalate to the department of that.
I think that that's a great idea. If you add the word must be an ACO and somewhere in there, or shall be an ACO, I think that would really help, because then that would encourage them to otherwise contract out. Otherwise, some towns will go, oh, it's gonna cost us money and this patrol guy won't, it's gonna be a patrol guy. Or it's
And I think most of the cities that have the majority of the boarding facilities, Manchester, Concord, have the ACOs, right? Small ones, Barnstead, we have none. So we don't have an ACO either, so we pretty much should be, but I think actually we do have our margins.
Concord doesn't have an ACO.
That's true.
A lot of other bigger places don't have them. Boston does not have an ACO.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other places that don't.
Yeah.
So I think you guys are on a really cool track. I'm interested. I just like to see maybe an addition of a shall be an ACO, or else I don't want to see a town that's going to want to go pay extra to accept mutual aid from another town's ACO.
I don't know why the town would have to pay it. If somebody's trying to get a license, they should be paying for the station.
We have some reimbursement.
That's a good point.
Yeah, just a question. Since the state police, for so many towns who will have coverage, provide that, is there someone in the state police force or a conservation officer who could state who has the training or could stand in if the town doesn't have an ACO?
So state police doesn't have anybody. For example, I'm sorry, I'm recommending Connecticut. I was speaking to someone specializing in that in Connecticut yesterday, so I'm going to use that as an example. Connecticut has a state ACO, and then every municipality is required to have an ACO as well, and that's how they get it done. In New Hampshire, we don't have a state ACO, so there's nobody in the state police who has specialization. And the ACOA and Age Association has discussed if that's something they'd be interested in. There's no interest, there's nobody who wants to step into that role. As far as our municipalities go, we are 100% for providing mutual aid to other towns, just need approval from our own police departments. And so that's something that each police department has to work out between themselves. And usually what happens is the town that does not have an ACO does not go and borrow the ACO from another town, because there's conflict often of like, well, who's paying for that. So it doesn't happen. There are some towns like Hampstead and Atkinson who share an ACO and both pay like a portion of her salary, but that gets very, very complicated. I don't know if I've really answered your question.
Do you think that, if I may, Chair, do you think that the model that Connecticut has of having a designated state police officer is one that would be good
So
for New Hampshire? Or
that's something for deeper discussion. I don't know if I can speak to whether or not that's a great model. I have to look into it a little bit more. But I think it would be lovely if we just had a portion of each municipality should at least have some representation of the ACO. You know, whether you share it between 6 towns up north or what have you, there should be somebody. And that's something that everybody in the association can at least agree on. So I can't speak for the association on this.
that is something that, next year legislation.
And the police academy does have the animal cruelty training that Jerry Lewis is with us, Dr. Vasila does.
They do.
But it's a very high level, and not everyone has to go to the academy, is that correct?
So for ACOs, we're usually civilian employees. There are some cases where we're also part-time. But usually what happens is we do the National Animal Control Officers Association training through NACA. So that's sort of level 1 and 2. So you go do that so that I would be held to the same national standard in ACO if I were in Connecticut, in New Hampshire, Texas, whatever the case may be, we're standardized on national level as opposed to statewide. So that training happens there. And there's also the New England Animal Control Humane Academy, which is held in New Hampshire every summer at UNH. And that's for all ACOs to get continuing education credits which are required, but also feeds in ACOs from Vermont, Rhode Island, Connecticut, obviously New Hampshire, and one other state I forget. So there's a lot of training that our ACOs get. We have asked if we could do it at the police academy because that would be a nice centralized, easy location, but they said no. So we do it at the teaching period instead, but it doesn't happen. Whereas our control is not legal, are very specialized in their roles. We get very specialized in ours, and usually our control people don't have the time, energy, resources, or desire to go study. Our laws that are handling the testing, too much on their plate.
I have a question about that. If it doesn't come down to an ACO and a police officer or somebody from the town has to go in, could there be a standardized, like, list of things, like, this is what you're looking for, this is, specifically, like, what do you, here's the claim.
There's the Department of Agriculture has one that they use, and we could always, I have copies of that, we could always leave it more or less as, as far as shelter, can they stand up, sit on, turn around, touch the back,
Right.
the pneumonia, all that type of stuff, yeah.
Okay, all right, so there is, so that
We'll
was.
see where that goes, but I agree, and I'd love to see ACOs do it first, then the Department of Agriculture step in after. But I also like the idea that the business should pay for it. You have them pay licensing fee anyway at $450 on licensed by the state. But the other goal is, I've had 37 cases in 2 years of animals dogs being injured or killed in boarding facilities in New Hampshire. To have a place on the website, which is going to be an issue, licensed facilities in the state of New Hampshire. And once an appeal has been exhausted, any sort of suspensions, revocations, or whatnot, so people can understand so that was the second part of it, which will be a problem, but.
And then what about the daycare stuff?
Same thing.
Okay.
I think we're defining it as 5 more, they list initially as 5 dogs or more on your property, but you can't do that because mushers, breeders, that it has to be that you don't own, and it have to be over a certain period of time. That would probably be, 4 hours or whatnot. So it's still up in the air as
I
you
really appreciate that because I personally worked in Golden Case in which was a daycare / boarding facility, and now I should be down because there's no legislation on it. There's no oversight. So I went to Department of Agriculture and they came back to me, and then I ended up going the route of looking into our public health officer and also about the structure of the building and some other things, just to say that it needs to be more sanitary and structurally sound. But that's about all that could be done.
It's been nice. Senator Ward's been fantastic. We have 2 members of the EMA committee that have been fantastic in the House, so I'm looking forward to see what they're going to do.
All right. Any other comments, questions? Before we adjourn, I'm suggesting we have a meeting in January, which would be the 15th of January, which would be, I believe, I'm not sure when the legislative stuff really is going.
I may well work for you. We are, in the Senate, may not have a session until the last Thursday of the month.
Okay.
But that means that, just for bill tracking, the Senate is likely to have a lot of extra committee meetings and a lot of bills that will be right away in January. So it's going to be more difficult, I think, to keep up with what's going on. Nobody posts usually right, but there's likely multiple committee meetings during those first 2 weeks.
So would something,
The January, the January date is all around the committee meeting.
right, would it be better to have it on the, since Thursday seemed to be the best day, would it be better to do it on the 8th?
You'll run into the same problem.
Okay,
Whatever, just pick the day.
All right, so let's say the 15th.
Let's
Let's say the 15th, and in the horrible event that we have some crazy blizzard, we could have it the week after. That would be like.
Can I ask for the 8th? I have a standing commitment that I'm missing out on every month to this, and and no problem if not, but I would prefer the 8th
Well, let's
personally.
do the 8th then, okay, so that would be.
And for anyone who's if you're attending public hearings or committee meetings, as a public or testifying, it would be great to be able to alert us what's going on, because we all don't have eyes, and I know I'll be in the house, I guess we should move in there. Come February. But, to be able to, even if it's not formal, just, someone can be testifying as an individual, and as an individual, just to let the commission know what's going on. So a lot of us will be at different ones, and can help us all be educated on what's happening, not just, this amendment coming, this is what the amendment's probably gonna look like, and so we can be aware of that stuff.
Does that work, the 8th is, all right, so the 8th is.
I will not be here, we have, the AVMA,
Okay.
the House delegates meeting, so I won't.
Okay. All right, well, I guess that will wrap it up, and before we adjourn, I just wanted to wish everybody a wonderful Thanksgiving, and since we won't be seeing anyone until January, today's.
We make a motion to adjourn, I'll make it.
I just need it for minutes.